Can you believe that Yinue, who had recovered her true body, actually started asking Han Li for the 10,000-year spirit fluid? So, what exactly happened? Right now, at the Kunwu Mountain Demon Suppressing Pagoda, inside the 9th layer space, Sacred Ancestor Yuan Sha, the Black Wolf, has shattered the altar's seal, unleashing the true demonic Che. At this critical moment, luckily, Han Li, Yinue, and Xing Jili managed to escape with the help of a seal-breaking talisman. Afterward, Yinue's true form, Ling Long, told Xing Jili about the existence of a spatial node, in order to let Yinue return to the spirit realm and reclaim the body of the Yin Wolf. Han Li and Ling Long returned to the 9th layer space within the pagoda. Humph, you actually dared to return. Fine. This sacred ancestor will just dispose of you. As soon as these words were spoken, a loud explosion erupted. Han Li's spirits lifted, and he immediately headed towards the location of the original altar. Flying there stealthily, in just a moment, he appeared within the thick layers of clouds, looking down from above. At this moment, his bright sight spirit eyes, a divine ability, were being pushed to their absolute limit, without being intentionally blocked by sacred ancestor Yuanshu's divine seal. Even through the pitch-black demonic Che, he could still see the situation below. With perfect clarity, he saw that where the altar originally stood, there was now a black cavern over 100 jong wide. From within, billowing demonic Che was continuously pouring out. Inside, it was pitch black, truly unfathomable. And above this cavern, a mass of blood-red light and a mass of dark haze were intertwined, flickering and chasing each other relentlessly. Between them, bursts of explosions constantly erupted. The immense spiritual pressure they generated sent the nearby demonic Che churning and rolling. It was as if two vicious dragons were locked in a fierce battle, stirring up a storm. For a moment, it was impossible to tell who had the upper hand. Han Li saw that Yinue was not in any serious danger. I felt a bit more at ease. With a flash of blue light in his pupils, he began to search all around the black hole. Although the previous spatial explosion had completely destroyed the altar, the 2 stone tablets refined from Chilean soft jade, given their material properties, shouldn't have been easily destroyed, and one of those tablets should be the one used to activate the Tianjin Stele. It didn't take much time. In just a moment, using his X-ray vision, right under a pile of rubble, he found traces of the 2 stone tablets. One of them still had a small fragment embedded in it, a remnant of Hua Longxi. The other lay there, perfectly intact. Overjoyed, Han Li glanced at the still battling black light and blood-red glow. He immediately activated his concealment technique again, suppressing his aura to the absolute minimum. He descended silently, his fall making no sound. The fighting demonic creatures didn't notice him at all. After his feet landed steadily on a patch of rubble, Han Li flipped one hand over, and a jade Rui appeared in his palm. A faint yellow light flickered under its cool glow. Han Li's entire body strangely sank beneath the rubble. The moment he grabbed that stone tablet into his hand, his anxious heart finally settled a bit. Without the slightest hesitation, with a thought, from the storage pouch at his waist, a hazy ball of light shot out. It was the Tianjin Stele. Looking at this thing that was only about 6 inches long, Han Li tossed the jade Rui above his head. With a grasp of his empty hand, he pulled the object into his palm. His other hand gripped the stone tablet tightly. He furiously poured his spiritual power into the blue gold cup. As the golden cup trembled slightly, its entire body shimmered with a spiritual light, looking exceptionally brilliant. With a solemn expression, he gently pressed the purple gold cup against the huge stone tablet. Instantly, the stone tablet was like tofu. The golden cup sank into it without a sound. Before Han Li could even show a hint of joy, the situation suddenly changed. The stone tablet suddenly lit up with a layer of blue light. Then, as if weighing a ton, it sank downwards, actually slipping from Han Li's grasp and falling straight down. Half of the stone tablet plunged into the ground, leaving only the top half standing, and that upper half began to emit a humming sound. Suddenly, an enraged roar erupted from above the black hole. Han Li's heart skipped a beat. Without a second thought, he halted his retreat. The light shield around him flared, growing several times larger. Almost at the same instant, a black pillar of light shot out in a flash. After a loud bang, the massive ball of light exploded into a vast black mist, instantly engulfing an area over 100 feet wide. The rubble flickered in and out of existence within the black light. Before being annihilated, the black light slammed down upon the silver shield. The silver light trembled violently within the black light. The contrast between silver and black was stark. Han Li's expression changed. His hands formed a seal as he cast a series of incantations, striking the light shield. Instantly, the shield's surface became unusually smooth. Most of the black light was actually deflected away. The silver shield finally stabilized. Meanwhile, in the distance, the Yuan, Cha sacred ancestor's avatar only had time to launch that one attack before it was once again entangled by Yinyue. Otherwise, with another 1 or 2 hits, the shield would have surely collapsed. But because of this, the enraged avatar stopped dodging Yinyue's attacks, continuously spitting black light from its mouth along with the surrounding demonic Cha, which surged dozens of feet high. As it swept towards Yinyue, it looked as if it was willing to suffer another great loss of vital energy, just to repel Yue first, but doing so now was clearly a bit too late. Suddenly, the ground began to shake with astonishing violence. From every corner, dozens of pillars of light erupted from the ground with a deafening roar, transforming into massive stone pillars hundreds of feet high. Each pillar pulsed with spiritual light, and on its surface, large souls of different colors appeared. They began to spin rapidly. An unbelievable scene unfolded. The pitch-black demonic energy that originally filled the space, at the very moment those souls began to spin, surged wildly towards the ring like moths to a flame. At the same time, countless fine threads of light appeared high above the black hole, one after another, densely packed, just like a spider's web. In the blink of an eye, a massive, shimmering cocoon of light was formed. It was as large as a small mountain. When Han Li saw this, he knew the backup formation had been activated. Without a second thought, he continued to pour spiritual power into the stone stele. The spiritual ring on the stone pillar immediately grew larger, and the speed at which it absorbed the demonic energy became even more astonishing. In just a few breaths, most of the demonic energy in the entire space had been absorbed, disappearing into the stone pillar without a trace. As a result, the two-headed black wolf, which had been in a stalemate against Yu with the help of the demonic energy, was now at a disadvantage. It howled continuously amidst the black light, but was forced back step by that mass of bloody light. Han Li felt a sense of relief. He formed a seal with one hand, and fired another incantation at the stone stele. The stele let out a low hum, and then the white spiritual mass floating above the altar descended with overwhelming force, before it even got close to the black cave entrance. Its astonishing spiritual pressure greatly startled the two-headed black wolf, which was still locked in combat. It could no longer afford to be entangled with Yu. It turned into a beam of light and tried to flee. Yu snorted coldly, and with a flicker of her body, she vanished from the spot into thin air. As the spiritual mass descended, a white, glowing light instantly filled the entire entrance of the cave. After the spiritual light converged, the black hole vanished without a trace. In its place, a layer of exceptionally crystalline barrier appeared, resealing the demonic Cha beneath it. Seeing this, the black wolf, transformed from a soul clone of Patriarch Ma Yuan Sha, naturally knew the situation was dire. But, as its gaze swept over, it immediately landed on the stone tablet next to the seal. Having experienced a similar trick before, this wolf almost instantly guessed the secret it contained. Its expression immediately turned fierce. After letting out a low roar, its whiskers blurred amidst a black glow. Then, with a move of its body, it surprisingly transformed into 3 identical wolf shadows, which pounced straight towards Han Li and the stone tablet. Beside Han Li, a mass of blood-red light exploded. A vast sea of blood materialized out of thin air amidst the splashing crimson light, and immediately swept out in all directions. In the thick stench of blood, the 3 wolf shadows, caught unaware, were momentarily swept into the sea of blood, and trapped within it. At almost the same instant, a ball of fluorescent light flashed into existence above the sea of blood. After a clap of thunder, countless firestones shot out from the fluorescent light, blanketing everything. They rained down on the 3 black wolves, engulfing them completely. The 3 black wolves were startled. They quickly raised their paws, and streams of black radiance sprayed from their mouths, forming a curtain of light that blocked the onslaught of fire. A cold glint flashed in Han Li's eyes as he flipped his palm. A 3-leaf fan, spinning, appeared in his hand. Pointing it at the black wolves, he waved it fiercely. Instantly, with a clear cry, 3 bird-like figures, only about a foot in size, shot out from the fan at the same time. They headed straight for the 3 black wolves. Before they even got close, the scorching high temperature had already begun to evaporate the nearby sea of blood, causing wisps of steam to rise. One of the 3 black wolves' eyes filled with panic. The other 2, however, suddenly realized what was happening. They had seen the situation. A look of delight crossed Yu's face as she let out a low cry. Immediately, she formed a hand seal. Her body rolled and, amidst a fluorescent glow, she transformed into an oversized silver giant wolf. It pounced straight at the black wolf, that had shown an opening, even killing the sacred ancestor's avatar. With a single leap, it also transformed into its giant Volf form. It suddenly remembered something. With a look of shock, it immediately let out a mighty roar. "You want to use Soul Devour? Don't even think about it." Then, the Volf took a deep breath and suddenly exhaled. A cloud of blood-red mist instantly spewed from its mouth. It transformed in the wind into blood-red flames, enveloping itself completely. When the nearby sea of blood came into contact with these blood flames, it was like ice and snow in the spring sun. It rapidly dissolved and melted away. In that instant, the Volf was free again. Immediately, a black light flashed around its body, and it shot up into the air. But just as its body was about to move, suddenly, a clap of thunder echoed above its head. Then, a silver arc materialized out of thin air. Before the Volf had time to change its direction of escape, countless azure threads shot out from the silver arc. With a flash of fluorescent light, the Volf was completely bound and tied up. The black Volf was terrified. It hurriedly tried to activate the blood flames on its body, instantly enveloping the azure threads. But to its utter surprise, a cold snort came from within the silver arc. Under the shimmering spiritual light, the azure threads showed no signs of being burned at all. The demon's heart sank. Just as it was momentarily immobilized, the demonized silver Volf flashed before it. The demon couldn't dodge. With a flash of spiritual light, the silver Volf entered its body and vanished. The black Volf's body convulsed. A horrifying, piercing scream erupted from its two Volf heads simultaneously. Its body began to violently convulse. One of the Volf heads suddenly went blank. Then, its eyes became bright and piercing. It immediately lunged, sinking its teeth into the other Volf head's neck. At this moment, the heads, in that very instant, fur purified into a silver-white color. The black Volf head naturally wouldn't surrender without a fight. It opened its massive jaws and bit back. In an instant, the two heads began tearing at each other. Just then, a figure flickered within the silver light. Han Li, holding the Zushinding, walked out and glanced at the two-headed giant Volf. A look of concern appeared on his face. Although the silver Volf head had the upper hand, the body had already recovered. Immediately, its entire body flashed with black light as layers of demonic energy surged violently towards the black Volf head. This caused the black Volf head to fight with increasing ferocity. Seeing this, Han Li's expression darkened. He suddenly flicked a finger at the Zushinding. Instantly, a clear ringing sound was heard. The green threads binding the giant Volf suddenly glowed brightly. They then tightened, causing the Volf's body to become completely immobilized. Then, Han Li opened his mouth again, and a golden arc shot out. It struck the unusually ferocious black Volf head. The golden light exploded. Slender electric arcs jumped and flashed. The demonic energy on the black Volf head instantly dispersed. After a miserable shriek, with the demonic energy greatly diminished, the silver Volf head threw its neck back. A phantasmal image of an identical silver Volf head suddenly shot out. It swallowed the black Volf head in one bite. Then, it ripped backwards, and actually, from within, pulled out a murky black shadow. This black shadow was shapeless and constantly shifting. It seemed to collapse like a pile of mud, but the various grimaces it made were all ferocious and terrifying. The man and the silver phantom were both swaying unsteadily. From within the silver shadow came Silvermoon's bone-chillingly cold snort. A blinding silver light flared as the silver shadow's body suddenly doubled in size. In one gulp, it swallowed the black shadow, devoured it, and then shrank back down, disappearing back into the silver Volf's head in an instant. The black Volf head, which had been desperately biting just a moment ago, suddenly went still. Its eyes became dull and lifeless. The silver Volf head paid no more attention to the other head. Instead, it retracted its own head completely, and began to tremble uncontrollably, as if it were experiencing immense pain. He, on the other hand, felt a sense of relief. After tossing the small cauldron in his hand onto the giant Volf's body, he rushed forward and tapped it a few times. A vast sigh and mist surged out from it, enveloping the giant Volf in the blink of an eye, forming a giant ball of light. Then, Han Li scanned the entire space. His expression shifted, and he suddenly flew towards the vicinity of the seal. A moment later, he was hovering above another pile of altar ruins. With a casual wave of his hand, he struck downwards. Several crimson fireballs shot down. After a series of explosions, a large crater appeared before him. A black light flickered within the crater, revealing something was present inside. The humanoid puppet made a grasping motion in the air, and the object was easily pulled into its hand. Taking a closer look, it was the small, broken remnant of the black wine flag. Although most of the spirit treasure had been destroyed, it still emitted an astonishing spiritual energy. Clearly, its spiritual nature had not completely dissipated. Han Li glanced at the item, and with a flip of his palm, He unceremoniously put it into his storage pouch, although he had no idea how to repair a heaven-reaching spirit treasure, or if it could even be repaired. Its refining materials alone were already items of extraordinary rarity. Its value was naturally immeasurable. Before he could even deal with this item, he didn't return to the giant Wolf's side. Instead, he unhesitatingly fled towards a corner of the space, and flew higher and higher. In the blink of an eye, he once again vanished into the clouds behind a shield of light. Han Li stopped, a grave expression on his face. He saw that not far ahead, a pale green ball of light was floating, and inside it, an emerald green wooden tooth was slowly rotating. It was another one, the heaven-rending spirit treasure, the eightfold spirit tooth. Although this spirit treasure was completely intact, it was a Buddhist artifact, which greatly restrained demon lords. That's why sacred ancestor Yuan Sha could only stare at it helplessly, unable to immediately devise a way to use it. Of course, if this demon were to recover his peak divine powers, that would be a different story altogether. Han Li stared at the eightfold spirit tooth, not daring to act recklessly. When he first subdued the void heaven cauldron, he had nearly lost his life to the previous owner's trap. Who knew what kind of tricks this eightfold spirit tooth might have up its sleeve? Thinking of this, Han Li's mind stirred, and the humanoid puppet that had followed him here flickered and shot straight for the eightfold spirit tooth, reaching out and seizing the treasure in its grasp. When nothing unusual happened, Han Li was overjoyed. He took the treasure from the puppet's hand and toyed with it for a moment. The treasure was exceptionally smooth to the touch, cool like a piece of warm jade. As the green light swirled, strands of verdant light flickered continuously, but when he injected his spiritual power into it, he felt a slight, unusual danger. Han Li froze for a moment. Just then, in the distance, the ball of light surrounding the giant Wolf suddenly let out a loud bang. Then, with a flash of spiritual light, it exploded. Han Li hastily put away the eightfold spirit tooth and quickly pointed twice towards the distant void heaven cauldron, with a hint of nervousness. With a whoosh from the zenith void, it shot straight towards Han Li. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a ball of clear light and landed in Han Li's hand. Han Li's eyes narrowed slightly, his gaze fixed on the distance. After that ball of green light scattered and disappeared, an elegant figure slowly stood up. It was that giant Wolf, but at this moment, the giant Wolf's hands had turned into a head. Its whole body had also turned silver white, exceptionally bright all over. It raised its hand and looked towards Han Li. Han Li was overjoyed and immediately started flying back, but halfway through his flight, he made eye contact with this creature. He felt its gaze was exceptionally icy. His heart couldn't help but sink. He faintly had a bad premonition. The handsome figure flickered, and in the glowing light, transformed into a graceful woman. It was the very image of Ling Long. The woman glanced at Han Li, her face devoid of expression. A cold sneer touched the corner of her lips. "You're Long Meng." Han Li sucked in a sharp breath, asking in shock, "It's not entirely wrong to say I am Long Meng. After all, the current me, is indeed Ling Long." But with Long Meng's consciousness in control, Ling Long raised a pair of slender, jade-like hands, looking at her unusually translucent fingers. Although she tried to wear a calm expression, the trace of excitement in her eyes undeniably revealed her true feelings at that moment. "How is Yue?" Han Li's expression changed several times. Finally, he licked his upper lip and asked calmly, "He's fine. It's just that, when he performed the Soul Devour, he consumed a great deal of divine energy and fell into a deep sleep. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to come out so smoothly." The excitement in Ling Long's eyes gradually subsided, and a strange note entered her reply. But her voice remained light and nonchalant. "What are your plans now?" Han Li heard that she seemed to be fine. A thought crossed his mind, but he calmly asked, "And what would that be?" "Naturally, to return to the spirit realm." "Why? Are you reluctant to part with Zhu Ling? Thinking of keeping her here? Are you?" Ling Long raised a delicate eyebrow. Her voice turned cold. Hearing the woman's undisguised words, Han Li's face flushed slightly red, but his gaze shifted, and his expression quickly returned to normal. "You should be well aware, Zhu Ling always intended to return to the spirit realm. I won't stop her, nor can I. It's good that you're so sensible. That is for the best. Of course, originally, I intended to take back the spirit treasures you possess. But considering that when we were devouring the demon soul just now, you lent me a hand, and Zhu Ling had already made a promise to you, I, Ling Long, as the Grand Princess of the Yingyue clan, I am not one to forget a favor. You can keep that small cauldron and the 8-0 ruler. But from now on, all ties between you and Zhu Ling are severed completely. Even if you do manage to ascend to the spirit realm in the future, if you dare to appear before me, I will kill you on the spot. Ling Long stared at Han Li, a hint of killing intent suddenly flashing in her eyes. Han Li's expression changed slightly, but then, he acted as if nothing had happened, neither agreeing, nor uttering any words of refusal. The woman didn't seem to be forcing Han Li to make a promise. She was merely stating her terms to him. Then, she raised a hand, and a streak of black light shot towards Han Li. He was startled at first, but after seeing the object clearly, he calmed down. Without a word, he reached out and grabbed it from the air, catching it in his hand. This item was precisely the Blackwater flying dagger that had been confiscated by the Yuansha saintly ancestor. The woman had actually returned it to him. Han Li, naturally, accepted it without hesitation, and casually tossed it to the humanoid puppet behind her. At this moment, Ling Long paid no more attention to Han Li. He walked to the center and briefly checked the seal there. He nodded casually. Then, after a cold glance at Han Li, she suddenly walked over to him again. Seeing this, Han Li's expression turned serious, and he immediately became highly vigilant. Give me a few drops of your 10,000-year jade nectar. I need it to open the age-reversing passage, Ling Long said, without a trace of politeness. The corner of Han Li's mouth twitched. He reached out and slapped his waist, and instantly, several small vials appeared in his hand. Without a sound, he tossed all of them to the woman. Ling Long flicked her long sleeve, and the few jade vials were silently drawn inside it. The entire movement was silent, and incomparably elegant. Afterward, the woman walked to a nearby empty space, and began to sit down cross-legged. Her hands formed a seal. A pleasant sound, like a sudden rain shower, emanated faintly from the woman's mouth. Her figure floated up as if dancing in the wind, and patches of fluorescent light emanated from her entire body. The dazzling light enveloped the woman's figure, gradually submerging her. From a distance, it looked as if she had truly transformed into a bright moon. Just then, Ling Long suddenly opened the eyes she had just closed. With an open mouth, she spat out that age-reversing disc, the disc formed by the insignia. Han Li frowned as he looked at the disc from afar. No matter how he looked at it, he couldn't see anything wrong with it. It didn't look at all like something formed from a condensed insignia. The dense spiritual energy on it was no less than that of a top-tier treasure. Just as Han Li was pondering in confusion, that disc spun around once and flew to a spot above the silver-haired woman's head, where it stopped, hovering steadily. Seeing this, Ling Long below immediately used her index finger to continuously flick at the treasure. One after another, spales of various colors gathered on top of the disc. The treasure absorbed them all. After just a moment's delay, it became magnificent. The disc, amidst a great release of starlight, expanded wildly. In just a moment's time, it transformed into a wheel of light several meters in diameter. As it spun rapidly, its surface was dotted with golden light. Then, countless points of starlight converged in the center, and with a shudder, formed a golden pillar of light as thick as a water barrel. From the center of the wheel of light, it shot out, plunging into the layers of yellow clouds high in the sky. An earth-shattering boom echoed out. Immediately, the clouds and mist near the pillar of light churned violently, and the entire ninth layer of space began to tremble. And the golden pillar of light, the point where it entered, became transparent and brilliantly lit. The crisp sound of a barrier shattering could be heard. Several pitch-black cracks instantly appeared at the center of the light. Following that, more and more dark wind appeared, becoming densely packed. After a burst of incredibly beautiful celestial music, a huge portal appeared, and the golden pillar of light shot right into it. Surrounding it were countless large clusters of light, floating and dancing about, each a different color. It was a magnificent sight. Just at this moment, a massive disc followed the golden pillar of light, and slowly flew out directly from the portal, coming to a stop at the entrance. Light flickered unceasingly on its surface. It was clearly just like the one Ling Long had projected, identical in every way. Could this be the true reverse heart disc? Pan Li watched from the side, staring at the portal and the disc that appeared in the sky. His face was expressionless, but inwardly, he was shocked. At this moment, however, the fluorescent glow on Ling Long's body gradually dissipated and receded, and her figure reappeared. The majestic, zither-wielding woman looked toward the passageway in the sky. On her beautiful face, there appeared a trace of loneliness. Suddenly, with a flicker of her body, she stood on the halo of light above her head, slowly ascending into the sky. Her target was precisely that giant passageway high in the sky. As the woman and the halo of light beneath her feet approached, the giant passageway seemed to sense something on its own. The ball of light within the passageway emitted a clear, humming sound, and the true reverse heart plate also trembled slightly and began to rotate. It seemed to rejoice at the approach of the halo of light. becoming excited. It appeared to be full of spirituality, seeing the reverse heart plate's reaction. Ling Long, however, suppressed a faint smile. Then, turning, she glanced down at Han Li. After a slight hesitation, she suddenly flicked her hand. Yellow, crimson, and white, 3 beams of light shot out. In a flash, they were before Han Li. Han Li was startled, but he could see that the woman had no malicious intent. He subconsciously flicked his sleeve, and a swath of azure mist swept out, catching all 3 beams of light in his hand. Looking closely, he saw a white jade slip, a talisman, and the last rum-breaking talisman. Han Li's heart was in turmoil. Before he could open his mouth to ask anything, he heard the silver-haired woman let out a soft sigh. This contains information on the age-reversing passageway and the spatial nodes. It's a bit more detailed than the one I gave that other person. Perhaps you'll be able to use it in the future. The rum-laying talisman and the other one. I won't need them once I reach the spirit realm, so I'm giving them to you as well. Besides, carrying a spirit treasure away from this mountain will likely not be an easy task. I'll help you one last time. Han Li was stunned by these words, not yet understanding what she meant by helping him. At that moment, Ling Long had already extended a slender, jade-like finger towards the reverse heart plate in the passage. She gave it a light tap. Instantly, the plate emitted a burst of clear light. With a slight turn, the center of the disc actually aimed right at Han Li. With a flash of brilliance, a pillar of golden light shot out. But, as if it could teleport, the next moment, it strangely appeared right before Han Li. As the brilliant light spread, it unceremoniously enveloped him and the humanoid puppet behind him, shining on them both, and with almost no time to react, Han Li and the puppet, right where they stood, vanished without a trace. It was unknown where the reverse heart plate had teleported them. After doing this, Ling Long, without any hesitation, entered the passage. Inside the passage, multicolored glows surged forth. In the blink of an eye, they enveloped Ling Long and the reverse heart plate within. A loud rumbling sound echoed. After the passage shook violently, the woman had completely disappeared from within it. Then, the entrance to the passage began to crack apart inch by inch. After a flash of smooth light, the entrance completely collapsed and dissipated. A moment later, the space on the 9th level returned to its original state. It was completely silent, without a single figure in sight, as if nothing had ever happened. At that moment, Xiang Jili, Brother Wanian, and Lin Yinping had just walked out of the great chasm deep within the demon-suppressing pagoda. At the very moment Han Li disappeared from the 9th level space, Xiang Jili glanced up at the sky with some surprise, a hint of confusion on his face. What's wrong, fellow Taoist Xiang? Did you discover something? Although Brother Wanian's cultivation was far inferior to Xiang Jili's, he was, after all, a demonic being who had survived since the Great Ancient War. Plus, he had another powerful backer behind him. Although he didn't dare to offend Xiang Jili, but I'm not afraid that they'll suddenly turn on us after they get out. It's unlikely. Perhaps I was mistaken. Why do I feel like the seal outside Kunwu Mountain was just disturbed for a moment, but I scanned it with the divine stone and found nothing else. Xiang Jili stroked his sparse beard, frowned slightly, and said, that might be the seal weakening on its own, causing a momentary fluctuation. Otherwise, a seal of this magnitude is not something a mere mortal can shake. The senior brother chuckled. Perhaps. Oh, right. Earlier, you just said the Yi family was behind this whole incident. Have all the Yi family cultivators fallen? That Yi family's great elder was a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. He should have possessed considerable power. Where is he now? Xiang Jili asked, his expression suddenly turning grim. The rest of the Yi family were all killed by that demonic creature. As for the Yi family's great elder, when I entered the 9th level, I didn't see him. He must have been killed by that demonic creature. The senior brother was stunned, but then gave a dry laugh and said, it doesn't matter whether he's really dead or not, since they've caused such a disaster this time. The Yi family no longer needs to exist. After we return, the position of the number 1 noble family should be changed. Your 10,000 Demon Valley has no objections. Right. Xiang Jili snorted coldly. He said with a cold glint in his eyes. At this moment, the smooth, diplomatic look on his face was completely gone, revealing the true nature of a deity transformation cultivator. The senior brother from the 10,000 Demon Valley's heart skipped a beat, but he replied without hesitation, of course, even though the Yi family had some friendly dealings with our valley, this time they've made such a grave mistake. They should indeed be wiped out. We'll send new people to take charge of the mortal realm. It is for the best that fellow Taoist Shang thinks that way. By the way, fellow Taoist Lin, once we leave the mountain, you should return to Qiaolan immediately. It seems you, fellow Taoist, have stayed in our Dajin for quite a few years. But this is not the Tialan step. After all, in the future, you should send fewer people to Dajin. Shi Yongjili's tone shifted, as he spoke coldly to the perpetually silent Lin Yinping. I understand. After we leave this time, this junior will immediately return to the steppe. As soon as Lin Yinping met Shi Yongjili's expressionless gaze, a chill ran through her heart. She dared not utter a single word of refusal. Besides, she was still under Han Li's powerful restriction. Regardless of whether Han Li could survive in that demonic chat, it was naturally better not to cross paths with him again, to avoid being controlled by him. Moreover, she still dreamed of returning to the Holy Temple, gathering the temple's powerful nascent soul cultivators, to see if they could break this restriction. Seeing Lin Yinping agree so respectfully, the coldness on Shi Yongjili's face eased slightly, just as he was about to say something more to her. Suddenly from the endless expanse of the sky, a streak of white light flashed and shot through the air. In the blink of an eye, it arrived above the three of them. Shaishang was greatly alarmed. A spiritual light flashed around his body as he prepared to defend himself. But suddenly, the air around him froze, and his body became as heavy as lead. At the same time, Shi Yongjili's faint voice sounded, "Fellow Taoist, there's no need to panic. This is from fellow Taoist who of the Heavenly Devil sect. It is a flying sword message for this old man." Then, Shi Yongjili raised a hand and beckoned to the white light. The white light circled once. Before landing in Shi Yongjili's hand, it was a small, pale white sword. The pressure on Shaishang's body instantly vanished without a trace. Although the demon had a false alarm, he was still shaken by the sudden incident. Also broke out in a cold sweat. He cupped the small sword between his hands, had bowed in silence for a moment, then raised a hand and tossed it back up into the sky. It turned into a streak of white light and vanished. Let's go. Fellow cultivator who has also entered this mountain, will meet up with Chehue, and then immediately summon all the major and minor sects of the southern border to seal this mountain once again. Shi Yongjili said calmly, watching the spot where the white light had disappeared. Shaishang and Lin Yinping naturally had no objections. It seemed as though they had all completely forgotten about Ling Long and Han Li. On a scenic mountain peak somewhere in the southern border, several Che condensation stage cultivators were sitting in a small pavilion, engaged in a lively discussion. The topic of their discussion was naturally the Great Seal, that had recently thrown the entire southern border into a panic, just as a middle-aged man in a white robe was eloquently speculating on what might be behind the seal. A golden light flashed at the top of the pavilion. With a loud boom, a pillar of light shot down from the void, slicing off a large part of the pavilion. Then, before their stunned eyes, a cultivator in a green robe and a shimmering, puppet-like figure materialized within the golden light. The green-robed cultivator stumbled, seeming a bit unsteady on his feet, but with a wave of his hand, the silver figure vanished without a trace. These low-level cultivators were left completely dumbfounded. Where is this place? After the figure in green steadied himself, he scanned his surroundings, and his gaze fell upon the group. He asked bluntly, although his voice was flat. Anyone could hear the undeniable authority in his tone. He was none other than Han Li, teleported here by the reverse heart disk model.